great to be here with you guys this morning. My name is Kevin, or Mr. Peace. Just to wake us up this morning, I'm going to start some hip-hop if that works for you guys. So 2 fingers up for peace, and let's rock it. Here we go. Like check. It's great to be here at Thornton. My name is Mr. Peace. Good to see you guys. Listen in. It's like this. It's love over hate. It's peace over war. It's the dream that MLK and Gandhi lived for. But now it's our time to keep doing right. Because we know in just 2 seconds we can save a life. It's love over hate. Peace over war. It's the dream that MLK and Gandhi lived for. But now it's our time to keep doing right. Because we know in just 2 seconds we can save a life. Life is the peace. Empty heart just to see that my dreams are as empty as my conscience seems to be. You still can't see my dreams every week. There's a surgery I'm seeing 2020 and living life efficiently. The moment I arrive, I'm judged by what I wear, my that which makes me come alive. And it's just not fair, but I'll keep living trapped over your skeptical remains. And I'll flourish and I'll rock with the flow of my refrains. See the people are my passion and the reason that I'm rapping, bringing inner satisfaction, the fuel of chain reaction. Aspire inspiration for your fire's exploration. Only love is what I'm strapping in the will to make it happen. It's love over hate, peace over war. It's the dream that MLK and Gandhi lived for. But now it's our time to keep doing right. Because we know in just 2 seconds we can save a life. Life. Now we're warmed up. Give yourself a round of applause. So that's how I get up every morning. Different beat on my alarm clock. I wake up and just start rapping. No, I'm joking. It's great to be here with you guys to share my heart. My name is Kevin, or Mr. Peace. I was telling some of your teachers that I'm actually a full-time youth pastor at a church, St. Mary's in Milford. I live in Commerce Township. I was here at St. James in Novi for about 3 years doing youth ministry too, right down the street. So my heart's all around this community. I grew up in Szawala. But on my off days and off weeks, I get to travel this whole country, all across the U.S. I get to speak to people from age 5 up to age 105. How's it going? But before beginning my talks, before I start speaking, I'd just like to let my audience know that every single breath that I take this morning is going to be worth your time. So the talk today has to kind of do with the hook of this track that I just performed, or the chorus. And I said it's love over hate, it's peace over war. It's the dream that MLK and Gandhi lived for. But now it's our time to keep doing right, because we know in just 2 seconds we can save a life. And see, look, Gandhi said, you must be the change you wish to see in the world. And I saw it right there. I'm assuming that's your library, or, okay, in your entrance where you got it there. You also got it right over here. But the full quote is, you must be the change. He's not just saying that it's like an option, or if you want to do it, go ahead if you feel like it. He's saying that we have to be the change that we want to see. If we want more kindness, not only in this school, within these walls, but in this whole world, then we have to treat people with more kindness. We have to be kindness. We have to be peace. And MLK, we just celebrated his birthday, right? The other week. He said that the time is always right to do what is right. The time's always right to do what is right. And what is right is to respect each other, to empathize, to appreciate, like you guys just talked about. And so look, the talk today has to deal with diversity, but more importantly, what my shirt says, one race, human. That we're able to see everybody around us, our neighbors, our classmates, anybody, as human beings before anything else. So everybody look at this real quick. Make a fist. These are some 3rd through 5th graders at a school in Massachusetts. But go like this real quick, all right? And I'll go like this. No, don't do that. But listen, this right here, your fist is as big as your heart, right? Your fist is as big as your heart. But look, if we let love, peace, compassion, empathy, and appreciation for diversity, kindness, fully enter into here, we can turn this into this. And the reason that it's two, the peace sign, right, is because one finger is yourself, the other finger is someone you're trying to lift up higher than yourself. If you choose that, through your words, through your actions, something you say or do can stay on their heart positively for the rest of their life, right? If you say something in a nice way. But also, it's also two because in 2 seconds you can either uplift or in 2 seconds you can destroy. Through your words, through your actions, just one word, one action, one heartbeat. And you can either raise someone up higher than the clouds or bring them down by how we choose to treat people, right? And you know, it's crazy. My youth group and I, we were just in Detroit a few months ago at a soup kitchen. We were helping out at a soup kitchen. And I was the mashed potatoes and the lady next to me was the gravy. And so the people came in for lunch, whether they were homeless or just needed a meal. And there was a lot of people, right? Almost 1,000 that had lunch that day. And I just kept going one tray after another, right? I didn't stop. Kept sliding it down. Well, our first break in the action, I started to talk to this lady next to me. I got to know her name, where she's from. And then she tells me she was at the soup kitchen 2 months earlier, doing the same thing, randomly serving. And then she randomly looked up, and across the counter was her brother. And she hadn't seen him in 15 years. And he fell on some hard times, lost his job, was living on the streets, and her heart just dropped. And she stopped what she's doing and she ran across the counter and she hugged him and they embraced and they cried. But the whole point of the story was, that's how we should be treating everybody all the time. Like they're our brother, like they're our sister. But a lot gets in the way sometimes of actually doing this. You know, it's crazy, I just got back from Texas in December. I was speaking near Houston for a week, trying to bring some healing to some of the students and teachers at some schools where Hurricane Harvey hit. And what you notice is that with any hurricane like Irma, Maria, Nate down in Florida that just happened, or the wildfires in California, or tornadoes, or any of these natural disasters, people from all walks of life come together. Whether you see it on TV or you're down there in person, African Americans, Caucasians, Hispanics, Asians, everybody comes together to support their fellow human beings in these times of need. But why does it have to take a tragedy for us to wake up and start treating people the right way? It shouldn't have to, right? Why does it have to take a crisis for us to finally start to care? And when you look at this a little bit deeper, right, cooperating, that means that we're helping our fellow human beings around us. That we're appreciating them, the inside, the outside of who they are. We're respecting them as unique individuals, and that we're actually walking in their shoes, putting ourselves in their shoes and feeling how they feel, right? So when I say care, and we talk about diversity, what does that word mean to you, diversity? Anybody? What do you guys think? Yeah. Different people, okay. Anybody else? Diversity? What do you guys think? Yeah. Different races, different colors, different backgrounds, right? So, one more. Diversity? What is it? So it sometimes divides people, so we can say, hey, this person is special in this way, this person is special in this way. That's true. But diversity really just means differences, right? And we have to respect everything on the outside, whether somebody's born different than us, if they walk differently, if they talk differently, if they see differently, hear differently, look differently, we still appreciate who they are on the outside. And that could be a different skin color, a different hairstyle, different way they dress, foods they eat, their culture, their background, where they're from, what language they speak. We have to accept and appreciate all of that. Because if we don't, we cause people a lot of pain. And we have to accept and appreciate what's on the inside too, because that's also diversity. How many of you guys are good at sports? Hands down, hands down. How many of you guys are good at dancing? Hands down, hands down, hands down. How many of you guys are good at singing? Hands down, hands down. How many of you guys are good at video games? Hands down, hands down. How many of you guys are good at being a friend? Okay, hands down, hands down. So look, Thornton Creek, all of that is diversity too. And we have to respect that, because if we don't, we can cause people a lot of pain in their hearts. And this only takes a few seconds. I just got back from a school in San Diego by the Pacific Ocean. It was an elementary school, right on the coast of California. And after my assembly, I had about 50 students crying that wanted to share something on their heart with me. And this second grade African American boy came up to me and said, "Mr. Peace, my friends are telling me, my classmates are saying, go back to where you were born, go back to Africa." He said, "Mr. Peace, I was born in Los Angeles, California. I don't understand." He was 8 years old. I had this 7-year-old, this first grader come up to me, this Hispanic boy. He said, "Mr. Peace, my classmates are saying, speak English." He said, "Mr. Peace, I'm talking English to you right now. I don't get it." I had this kindergartner, this 6-year-old, crying, come up to me, this Asian girl. She said, "Mr. Peace, my classmates are saying, open your eyes." She said, "Mr. Peace, this is how I'm born. I don't understand." So here's my question. Do you think the people that did this to this 8-year-old, this 7-year-old, this 6-year-old thought about these things on their own? No. See, all the time people say kids are cruel, people are cruel. And I say, no, they're not. We're just mirrors. We're all mirrors. And what we learn, which is not that within these walls, but at our homes, our environments, who we interact with, many times we reflect the same ideas, maybe the same racism too, the same judgments. Is it safe to say that that boy, those 2 boys and that girl that came up to me, that what they shared with me is going to be on their heart for the rest of their life? Yeah, but in a very negative way, right? So we have a choice to either reflect love or hate. And hopefully we choose love because this planet really needs it, right? So those are some negative examples. Here's a more positive one. This is a school in Michigan, near Lansing. And this is about, I'm going to show you guys a video, we're going to talk about it in a minute. But this is about a boy named Keith. And he was born with special needs. He learns a lot slower than his classmates. He struggles with boundaries. And they're going to talk about that. But I want you guys to pay attention to what this football team at this school did to make him feel welcome. Watch.
We end tonight with the football play of the month. It was executed with amazing precision by the Eagles, the Olivet Eagles. Steve Hartman has the play and the post-game analysis on the road.
Between classes, they schemed and conspired. For weeks, the football players here at Olivet Middle School in Olivet, Michigan secretly planned their remarkable play.
Did anybody go, this is a crazy idea?
No, everyone was in on it.
Like the coaches didn't know anything about it. It's really like going behind their back.
I've just never heard of a team coming up with a plan to not score.
It's just like to make someone's day, make someone's week, just make them happy.
The play, which was 2 plays actually, happened at a home game earlier this month. The first part of their plan was to try to get as close to the goal line as possible without scoring, even if it meant taking a dive on the 1-yard line, which it did. The crowd was not happy. Quarterback Parker Smith.
But us kids knew, hey, we got this. This is our time. This is Keith's time.
Keith Orr is the little kid in the brown jacket. He's learning disabled, struggles with boundaries, but in the sweetest possible way. Because of his special nature, it's no surprise that Keith embraces his fellow football players. What is surprising is how they have embraced him.
We thought it'd be cool to do something for him.
Because we really wanted to prove that he was part of our team and he meant a lot to us.
Nothing can really explain getting a touchdown when you've never had one before.
Which brings us to part 2 of their play. If you didn't see Keith, it's because they were so protective of him. But he was in the middle of that rush.
And when you crossed the goal line, what was that like?
Awesome. It was like, did he just score a touchdown?
Get your camera out.
I'm like, oh man, I can't.
Keith's parents, Carrie and Jeff, almost missed the moment, but they got the significance.
Somebody's always going to have his back from now until the day he graduates.
She's right. When the football team decides you're cool, pretty much everyone follows suit. Today, Keith is a new kid. Although by no means was he the only one who was profoundly changed.
What was it like for you?
It was like a once I saw him going, I was smiling like about like here.
Wide receiver Justice Miller.
Like nothing could wipe that smile off my face.
Why did it affect you so much?
Because like, he's never been like cool or popular, and he went from being like pretty much a nobody to making everyone's day.
Justice admits the play wasn't his idea.
I've not really thought about that.
He says it never crossed his mind to give Keith any glory.
Well, I kind of went from being somebody like mostly cared about myself and my friends to caring about everyone and trying to make everyone's day and everyone's life.
Which may just make that touchdown the most successful football play of all time. Steve Hartman on the road in Olivet, Michigan.
All right, give it up for Keith. So look, this is so cool because when you guys see this took a lot of courage for these football players to do this, especially the quarterback, right? He takes a dive at the 1 yard line, and his parents got really mad. All the parents on that team got very upset because the game was close and they needed the touchdown. They're like, why didn't you score? And then the other team too was like, guys, you had an open lane to the end zone, like why didn't you just walk in, right? But hearts started to change because they started to realize what was going on. That who won or lost the game, it wasn't as important anymore as including this human being, making him feel welcome, right? And this other team could have tried to stop him from coming in, but they actually just kind of let him walk in so he didn't get hurt. And so we all have this same power, right? To do these same types of actions. And that only took a few seconds, and that changed his life forever. Because not only was he accepted by everybody on that football field in that stadium that day, the entire school started to accept Keith after that day. All of you guys have that same power. And I was just brought into a school here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm heading back there this weekend to speak at a couple other churches in the area. But I was brought in to help with their race bullying issue for this elementary. And after my assembly, this fifth grader came up to me crying. Where are my fifth graders at? Hands down. This fifth grader named Anthony came up to me. He was crying. And he said, Mr. Peace, I'm not really racist. I'm just alone. And it turns out he was the main person doing all the bullying at the school, the main instigator. So sometimes it's because we feel alone why we put people down. We don't treat them with more kindness. Like my sign says here, need human kindness. This was from a school in California, a little bit further north than San Diego. But sometimes it's out of fear too. Who we fear, what we fear, many times we hurt because we don't get to know them. So it could be fear or feeling alone, but why else don't we treat people with kindness? Why? What do you guys think? Why? So if they don't treat us with kindness back, maybe we're going to just be mean to them too. But how come we don't show more love? How come? Why does bullying happen? What do you guys think? Yeah. Maybe somebody hurt this person. Yeah. And what's your name? Thanks, Gianna. So Gianna just said basically the biggest reason that I've seen why people bully is I've been, like I said, over 20 states, 1 million youth, but the biggest reason I see is that hurt people, that the easy thing to do as a human being is that if somebody hurts me by what they say, what they do, to diminish my worth or my value, the easy thing is to push that pain and that hurt on someone else by how I treat them poorly. But that's not the right thing to do. Because look, when you're first born, goo goo gaga, right? When we're first born, our hearts are kind of like this empty cup. Pretty much empty. We haven't had pain, hurt. Nobody said, you're not good enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not tall enough. You're not smart enough. You're not enough. People haven't told us these lies that sometimes we believe. So our hearts have no pain when we're first born. But little by little, our heart starts to get full of hurt. And a dark color to kind of represent the pain. And what will happen if I keep filling this up? Overflow, right? I had a first grader said, it's going to explode. I said, no, it's not. But the idea is that if I keep filling this up, yes, it could overflow onto ourselves, where we become the hurt people that actually hurt ourselves by talking negatively to ourselves and believing those lies. Or even worse, it overflows onto someone else by how we treat them in a negative way. But look, no matter how full of pain this gets, right, Thornton Creek, there's always room for love if we let it, if we choose that. So it's true, hurt people, but it's also true if we choose this. That healed people can heal people. Give it up for my cup. So look, here's what I mean by this, right? What I mean by that is that if I choose to become healed, like I choose to forgive somebody that's shown me only hate, which is not easy to do, then I become healed in my heart, and now I can go help heal other people. And Martin Luther King Jr., he said that darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. And he said hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. I was just talking at elementary north of Chicago last week, and this girl named Sandy came up to me and she was crying. And she gave me this bracelet to remember her by. One of her friends was with her, hugging her. And she told me, is there any 8-year-olds here? Hands down. She told me that one of her best friends, unfortunately, had just passed. She was 8 years old. She had a tumor and cancer. And she was crying. And her friend's name was Alexa. And she said, Mr. Peace, I haven't really been treating people the best because I've had so much pain in my heart. But I told her the best way to honor her legacy is by how you choose to treat people today, that she still lives on in your heart through your actions. And her bracelet says, #love never ends. That no matter how full our hearts get, we can still choose love over hate, right? Hope over fear. I have a friend of mine, her name's Irene Kopko. Everybody say Irene Kopko. She's 103 years old. 103, it's a little bit older than you. But listen, Irene, I was at her birthday party, eating this chocolate frosty fudge sprinkle cake. It was so good. I said, Irene, you're 103 years old. Tell me about your life. Tell me the good times, the bad times, the sad times, the glad times, the bad times, the times that ran with bad. She said, Mr. Peace, my most painful memory was back in 4th grade. Where my 4th graders at? Hands down. She was back in 4th grade. It was over 90 years ago, so it was still raw in her heart. Like it happened yesterday. She remembered it. And she was in 4th grade, at the front of the class, giving a presentation. And this boy came up from behind her, and he put her down because of her height, because she was short, because of her weight. She was heavier than her classmates. And it just embarrassed her, it humiliated her in front of everybody. And so it wasn't until she was 40 years old that she finally forgave this boy in her heart. Up till then, every time she was about to try something new, she said, I'm too short to do that. I'm too heavy to try that. And it kept playing this negative record over and over in her mind that wasn't even true. But she finally forgave this boy in her heart at age 40, and she became a youth worker to help other students who felt how she felt. And I was speaking to a school in Indiana, right below Michigan, to an elementary. There was 1,000 students in this gym. And during my assembly, the 2nd grade teacher, she came up and she interrupted my assembly in front of everybody. And she said, hey, Mr. Peace, everybody, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but I just got to share something on my heart. I said, yeah, go ahead. Here's the mic. Her name was Kate. And she said her most painful memory was back in 2nd grade 40 years ago. And she was the new girl at school. And right before lunch one day, this group of popular girls came up to Kate and said, hey, Kate, you can sit with us today at lunch. Go get your lunch and then come sit by us. And she's like, oh my gosh, wait, are you guys joking? Like, is this a joke? Are you serious? They're like, yeah. Go get your lunch and then come sit by us. She's like, okay, all right, sweet, this is awesome. So she gets her lunch tray out of the lunch line and she starts walking to their table. She's thinking, oh my gosh, this is my shot. I'm going to finally fit in. I'm going to finally be accepted for who I am. And she goes to sit down. And just as she sits down, everybody stands up on their chairs at the table. the other girls, and they shout across the cafeteria so everybody can hear them. They say, "Hey, everybody, check out Kate. She came in a fortnight's clothes." And she runs out crying, drops her lunch. And you see, her parents didn't have a lot of money growing up, so sometimes she had to wear the same outfit 3 times a week to school. And she was put down because of that. Well, she finally forgave these girls in her heart. It took her some time, but then she chose to become a 2nd grade teacher. So that what happened to her, her most painful memory back in 2nd grade, would never happen again to any of her students on her watch at her new school. Just like Irene, she became healed to help heal other people. And where my 3rd graders at? Hands down. I was talking at a different school in California, and I was about to sign out and leave in the office. And this 3rd grader named Dominic came up to me. And he said, "Hey, Mr. Peace, do you want to know my most painful memory?" I said, "Yeah, tell me." He said, "It was 2 years ago back in 1st grade. I had my heart crushed by this girl. I had my heart broken." So I'm thinking, kids are starting to date right now, Facebook official. Turns out that's not what it was. It was a 5th grader on the bus, and every day for 2 months straight, 2 months in a row, this 5th grader turned to Dominic and said, "You're never going to have any friends. You're never going to have any friends." Think about the impression, a 5th grader to a 1st grader saying that, right? "You're never going to have any friends." He said, "Mr. Peace, I went home the first night, I cried myself to sleep." He said, I didn't want to go back to school. It felt like my heart broke into a billion pieces. He said, "Mr. Peace, it hurt so bad. It felt like I didn't want to be born." But then he said something to me that I'll never forget. He said, "But you know what, Mr. Peace?" I said, "What?" He said, "Now I have best friends. Now I have best friends." How many of you guys have best friends? Oh, sorry. Hands down. How many of you guys have a best friend because they include you? Hands down. How many of you guys have a best friend because they make you laugh? Hands down. How many of you guys have a best friend because they got your back? Hands down, hands down. So Dominic started to cry. He said, "Mr. Peace, that's my best friend David, standing over there in the office." He was a 4th grader at the time. He said, "That's my best friend David, because when I was getting teased, bullied, put down, harassed, humiliated, he stood up for me when I didn't have the courage to myself. That's a best friend." To still appreciate his diversity. And the only reason he was getting made fun of is he was born in a whole different country, in the Middle East. That's why she started bullying him. So when we think about this, if we treated everybody like we treated our best friend, I don't think anybody would ever not appreciate diversity, right? Because you see people for what's on the inside, but also appreciate what's on the outside. You see people for their hearts first. I had a 5th grader come up to me at a school I spoke at in Chicago. Her name was Cheyenne, after my assembly. She said, "Mr. Peace, there's a girl named Jenny who moved to our school this past fall, and she's in a wheelchair for life. Jenny's in a wheelchair permanently. She's paralyzed from her waist down. Her legs don't work." And she said the first day that Jenny got here to school, Cheyenne's friends pulled her aside and said, "Don't even talk to this girl. She's different, she's weird." But Cheyenne said, "No, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm listening to my heart." So she went up to Jenny and said, "Hey, do you want to be my friend?" And she said, "Yes." And ever since that day, lunch, recess, library, gym, she includes Jenny. And then this 5th grader, like her wisdom, she said, "Mr. Peace, when I see her, I see this before this. I see her heart before this wheelchair, before this piece of equipment." And that was the actual wheelchair. There's a speaker named Nick Vujicic. Everybody say Vujicic. Say Vujicic. That's Nick Vujicic. He's from Australia. He's in his 30s. He has a wife, 2 kids. He speaks all over the world. He has no arms, no legs. That's how he was born, without any arms or any legs. And he was talking at a school once, in elementary, in a gym about twice the size of this room. And on one side, there were some bleachers. And at the end of his assembly, when the students started to exit and leave, this mom, who was in the bleachers watching the assembly with her 3-year-old daughter, let her 3-year-old start to run around as people were leaving. Because for 45 minutes, this 3-year-old was like trying to stay still, but we all know 3-year-olds do whatever they want, right? So she needed to get her energy out. So people started leaving, and so she said, all right, go, get your energy out. So she bolts and she starts running around the gym full speed, like hopping, skipping, twirling, cartwheels, floating. And pretty soon she's running full steam all around the gym. She's the same height as Nick, and she's running right towards Nick. He doesn't even see him. He's off his wheelchair. Usually he's on there saying goodbye, but he's off of it saying bye to people on the floor. He sees her coming. He's like, oh no. Because he can't move. He doesn't arms and legs, right? He's just going to brace for impact. And in the last second, corner of her eye, she catches him and she slams on the brakes. They're face to face. She takes a step back. She looks him up and down. She says, what's going on here? She's never seen him without arms and legs, right? But her next move, this 3-year-old, without really thinking, she put both of her arms behind her back like this. She hugged him with her neck like this. And it was so beautiful because that's the only way he could hug, right? Is have arms. But she didn't care how tall he was, the branding of his clothes, whether he had arms or legs. All she cared about was this. And you know who else also just cares about the heart? Puppies. These are my wife and I's 3 puppies. How many of you guys have a dog? Okay, hands down. These are my wife and I's 3 puppies. We have Mrs. Morello on the left, Kiki Melaniki in the middle, and Bear Bones Jones III on the right. This is them posing. Christmas. Easter. This is Bear's best friend, Dakota. They have play dates. Dakota has to wear a diaper. He's also in a wheelchair. And the reason I'm showing you guys this is because when Dakota was a baby puppy, his older brother was a bigger dog breed than him, was a little bit too rough. And he hurt him. And he actually paralyzed his 2 legs just like Jenny. And so Dakota has to use this to help him get around easier. But the reason I'm showing you this is, do you think that Bear cares 1 ounce that his best friend is disabled? No. All Bear cares about is if we say it's time to play, and all you guys that have dogs know this, right? If we say it's time for Dakota to come over, he will run to the door like this and wait for an hour, 2 hours, doesn't matter. Just like some of your dogs are waiting for you right now. As soon as you get home, no matter what kind of day you had, or they had, what's on your heart, they're going to always show you love. Jump on you, give you kisses, lick you to death, right? Just see you for the heart first. And there's a story about a boy named Shane. He's 6 years old in this picture. That's his dog, Belker. And Shane was playing with his toys at home, and his parents came up to him and said, Shane, we have to talk to you. Belker's been very sick. He's been suffering a lot. And he's getting really old. We have to put him down. And so Shane looks up from his toys and he says, okay, I understand. And he goes back to playing with his toys. And they're like, did he just not hear us? Like, why isn't he showing emotion? What's going on? Well, they didn't think much of it, but they said, okay, we got to get you to school today, and then we have to go to the vet to do this. So they pick him up from school, they go to the vet. Now the doctor's telling Shane, they say, Shane, Belker's been really suffering, he's in a lot of pain, and he has to go to a better place now, and we have to put him to sleep. And Shane looks up, and he says, okay, yeah, it's okay. And they said, why aren't you crying? Like, what's going on? He said, well, because I know why dogs don't live as long as humans. Because they've already understood the meaning of life. Unconditional love. It just takes us longer to figure it out. And when I say unconditional love, that means showing love to everybody around us, whether they're taller, shorter, wider, thinner, glasses, different skin color, whatever. We still show them love without any conditions, right? And that takes courage. There's an 8-year-old. You guys want to see the movie Wonder? Anybody? Hands down. This is the real life Wonder. His name is Jackson Bazan. He's from Idaho. And he was born with Treacher-Collins syndrome, which the boy in the movie has too. Treacher-Collins is where the bone and tissue in your face don't fully form. So it leads to it looking kind of disfigured. And Jackson was coming to school, and people were calling him freak, monster, all these names. And that's just how he was born. So his dad goes on social media, and he says, and he just puts a plea out there on Facebook, and he says, can anybody, and it goes to YouTube, he says, can anybody just send some encouragement to my son? Anybody. He gets thousands of video responses from people your age. Other 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds all across this country, encouraging Jackson. So look, the impact you have is going to be within these walls at Thornton Creek, but you guys could be impacting hearts all across this world if you choose that. So he comes back to school the next day, and somebody still calls him a name. They call him ugly, right? And these 5 boys step forward, and they say, no, that's not how we treat people here at our school. That's not going to work. And he hasn't been bullied since. He's been accepted from that day forward because these 5 boys stood up. Because people your age sent him encouragement. Guys, that takes a lot of courage to sometimes risk getting bullied or judged or teased yourself just to include someone else. But that's beautiful if you guys choose that. This also means we have to see people for this as well. Every one of you on the palm of your hands, with the lines of your hand, and sometimes both hands or just one hand, you have the letter M, that's on your palm, with the lines of your hand. Sometimes there's a faint line that connects it. Sometimes you can see it pretty quickly. Sometimes you have more than one on one hand. But this M stands for Michigan. I'm joking. I said that Columbus, Ohio got kicked out. This M stands for miracle. Upside down W stands for worthy. But here's the problem. So many students that I speak to, they can't see themselves as miracles. This is Dylan. He's a 3rd grader at a school I spoke to. And he wanted me to show you guys what he looked like, and he's just someone just like you guys. But he came up to me after my talk, and he's crying, and he said, Mr. Peace, I'm always getting put down because of my size, because I'm small for my age. And he pulled this out of his pocket. And it breaks my heart, because somebody that he cared about, whose opinion he valued, told him this, and he believed it. And he said, I look at this once a day to remember who I am. It says, I'm a mistake. He said, Mr. Peace, you forgot M also stands for mistake. But then he said, Mr. Peace, I don't want to believe that anymore. I want to believe this, that I'm a miracle. So his class, that same week, they sent me this picture. And Dylan's hand's in there too. And they all said, we're going to support him. We're going to help him appreciate who he is. Be there for him, to encourage him. And all of you guys have that power too, if you choose that. And we all have this choice to show kindness or not. Teachers will know what's going on with this picture, but I've had the opportunity and privilege to speak at a lot of different communities and cities to bring healing after tragedies. We just had another one in Kentucky yesterday, I saw that. But I had the opportunity to speak at a school in Connecticut, Sandy Hook and a couple other schools there. But the whole focus of the community is not on this tragedy that happened back in 2012. They want to focus on kindness. So the 2nd grade class gave me this. They all signed it. And it says, one kind word can change someone's day. One kind word can change someone's entire day. You guys believe that? Guys, I'm a firm believer one kind word can save someone's life. Why we have to be, no matter what's going on in our hearts, we have to still choose kindness. We have to still choose love. The only word that's in focus in the middle there, the red one, says love. But there's still going to be bullying and hate and fear and all these things, but we can still choose how we're going to respond to it. I had a student, his name was John. He sent me a message on Instagram after I spoke, and he got tripped in the hallway 2 weeks after I spoke, just because he has to wear glasses. That's how he was born, and he got tripped because of that. So he was still getting bullied even after I spoke at his school. And he said he stood right back up. And he walked over to the bully. He shook his hand, smiled, and said, "Have a great day." And he walked away. And the bully's mouth, while he was shaking his hand, dropped. Because his mouth was like, everybody watching, their mouths dropped. Because they expected him to cry, or fight back and fail, or run away. But he did the opposite, and the biggest thing this person who was hurting inside needed. He showed him love. I can't guarantee bullying will end at your school or any school that I'm brought in to speak at. But what I can guarantee is that responses and hearts will start to change. I just spoke to a school in Waterford Township here in Michigan, and this fourth grader named Uriah came up to me at lunch. I'll be staying for all your lunches today too if you guys want to talk to me one-on-one. But Uriah came up to me, he was a fourth grader, he said, "Mr. Peace, there's someone that's been really putting a lot of people down, not appreciating who they are, respecting their diversity. But I really believe if we start treating them with more kindness and love, that his heart will change." That's what he told me. That's if we choose this, right? And I had a 6-year-old. This is a kindergartner. People like write me letters, and I got thousands. But I laminated this one. It's from a 6-year-old named Lillian. It says, "Thank you, Mr. Peace. Aim for the good days, not the bad days. Love, Lillian." And the inside of her book, is blank. And I said, "Why'd you leave it blank?" She said, "Well, because, Mr. Peace, we have a choice what we're going to make our life, how we're going to treat people, good or bad, with love or with hate." This is a 6-year-old. Understanding what it means to accept everybody around us, to show them love no matter what. And we have to. I had a fourth grader who came up to me after my talk just crying, just fell into my arms. And she was getting bullied just because she was born in Korea, because where she was born. And so she told me the first day she got to school, she tried to sit down to make some new friends. She was the new girl at school. As soon as she sat down at this table, all the students stood up and they walked to a different table. And they embarrassed her in front of the whole cafeteria. So she tried the second table and she sat down. And everybody stood up at that table and walked away and humiliated her. So she tried the third table. And she sat down next to this boy. And he looked at her and he said, "You can stay. You can sit here. You can stay." And now they're best friends. But what's even more beautiful about this, right? What's even more beautiful about this is that now she's making it her job. Every lunch, her name's Anaya, but every lunch now, she looks for somebody who's sitting alone and tries to be their friend. And they have a buddy bench at their school too. I don't know if you guys have that here or not. But they have a buddy bench, and so she'll look outside that if somebody needs a friend to play on recess that's sitting on the buddy bench or needs somebody to play with them, she'll go and do that. So the kindness chain just keeps going and going, right? And I have these are 2 third graders. I just spoke at their school, and they started a Mr. Peace Club. I said, "What is that?" They said, "Well, it starts right now, Mr. Peace, right after this assembly." And they said, "You got to put your name down on a piece of paper, you got to write the date you joined, and you have to write down people that you think could use more kindness, people that need a friend, people that might be lonely that you think are here at this school. And you go out during recess and lunch and be their friend." There are up to 40 students that are part of the club. I just spoke there a few weeks ago. All of you guys have this same power if you choose it, and we have to, because the need is there. If something I shared today touched your heart, can you raise your hand? If something I shared touched your heart, hands down. So I have about 45 minutes with you guys. If I can touch your heart for 45 minutes, you think about the impact you can have on someone's life, on their hearts, over a whole school year, over a whole lifetime. And that means that you guys were given a gift. So now it's your opportunity to go share that gift. Every bracelet I wear, I pick about 10 or 12, just like the one I got from Sandy here. I have thousands of these. This is one of my bags. From students your age, some younger, some older, that said, "Mr. Peace, thanks for coming today. Thanks for touching my heart." And I pick about 10 or 12, these become my armor and my strength, because I remember the stories. of people like you who shared their heart with me. Because you guys touched my heart too. So look, I'm going to be giving your teachers each one of my business cards, all your aids, Mr. Peace. It's got all my information on the back of my website, mrpeace.org, Instagram, Mr. Peace Geese. Why geese? Why not? I got YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Mr. Peace 101. I'll be sharing some of the videos from today too. On there you guys can subscribe, follow, keep the message going that way. You guys can also get these shirts in a couple different colors with the peace sign on the back on my website. We also have these shirts that say keep your head up, upside down on purpose. So if you're feeling down or look down, it says keep your head up, right? So you guys can keep the message going that way, CDs, DVDs, but more importantly, you can continue the message about how you choose to live, how you choose to treat other people. A school in California started this too, and I'm going to be sending some information to your principal and some of your teachers to do this idea. But this is a kindness pledge, school-wide. And what it is, every student traces their hand, and they all write an M, wherever their M is located, on the hand for miracle, and they write one positive thing that they're going to do every day, whether it's, I'm going to be peace, I'm going to say hi to one person I don't know, I'm going to hold the door open, I'm going to appreciate somebody that looks totally different than me, totally different background than me, right? And then they commit to this, and you form it into a giant peace sign to remember what we talked about today, which was diversity, that we're all different, but that we use this acronym, the CARE, to be able to fully appreciate diversity, respect diversity, empathize where I get to know somebody, take a few seconds to get past my fears or judgments, to walk in their shoes, and eventually start to help them by cooperating. I'm going to close with some hip-hop, because that's what I do. I'm also going to be around for lunch. If there's something that's on your heart, and we don't have time to talk about it today, if you guys decide to email me or reach out to me, I don't always get back to you right away, but I always get back to you. That's my promise. And I don't have all the answers, guys. I just try to reflect what you already know, but you're beautiful. You guys are miracles, and you already touched my heart. So 2 fingers up for peace. Gotta get in my zone, and let's rock this. This song's about diversity. I get all my hip-hop skills from your principal. Here we go. Mic check, 1, 2. Okay. How we do? Mr. Peace. Peace be with you. 2 fingers up like this, just rock. Here we go, let's sing Thornton Creek. Diversity, have to respect what's on the outside. So do it please, cause we're all human beings. Yeah, here at Thornton Creek Elementary, we appreciate the dignity of everyone. Yeah, diversity is fun. Yo, it's also important and it's cool. It's what brings life to our school. We have to open our hearts, yeah, we must, to others who are different than us. Cause sometimes our closed minds, they bend, shield us from meeting new friends. Only cause we only look at skin color and don't care about what's within. But no matter who you are, how you look, you just gotta pay attention to this look. So Thornton Creek, hey, here is the deal I'm saying. Diversity, have to respect what's on the outside. So do it please, cause we're all human beings. Yeah, here at Thornton Creek Elementary, we appreciate the dignity of everyone.